Hi guys, Chuck here once again. In today's video, most of my videos are going to be about some form of manifestation, what goes on with them, how to do it, how not to do it. I want to go over some things that kind of came up in the last day or so with me. And it's a thing that Neville Goddard called revision. And it's a way to help clear your past, to get some of the junk out of your system and out of your body so you can get on with manifestation. A lot of people don't understand it, but basically what revision is, according to Neville Goddard, is a way to change your past. Can you really change the past? Stick around. We'll find out together, okay? You may be surprised. What Neville Goddard's way of revision was a thing he does every night. Let's say you had a day, and you went through your entire day, and maybe some things did not go the way that you wanted it to go, okay? You'd like it to be better. So just before you go to sleep, when you're getting into that state akin to sleep, as he called it, or SATS, as a lot of the younger people are referring to it now, that's when you slip into basically into your theta brainwave pattern, and where your filter's gone for your unconscious mind. So what you do is you go through your day. Some people say go through it backwards. You can do that too. That's another way of revise it. Start from now and back up. Or you can just start from the morning and just go through every step by step, whatever happened in your day. And if something didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, back up. In your mind, make it the way that you wanted it to go. And come back to getting into bed tonight and then just drift off to sleep. And everything's taken care of, right? That's what they say anyway. Well, we have a thing in our mind, our unconscious mind. Some people call it subconscious mind. It's actually your unconscious mind. It can't tell the difference between what is real and what is made up or make-believe. There is none. That's been proven, scientifically through a lot of studies over the years of people doing things, and the people that do the physical things and the people that did it just strictly in their mind have about the same results at the end of the day. So that's how this revision thing works, okay? I'll give you an example. Neville Goddard, I'll tell you what, let me give you Neville's stuff first, and I'll give you an example of real life. Neville says that a new belief in the present can cause changes in the past, but it changes on a neuronal level. In other words, your neurons in your mind, your nervous system. Seth, who was another one of those, he wasn't a real person. He was channeled by Jane Roberts years ago. But there's books out. Seth says that time is not as we see it in a linear fashion. It's not start to finish. Basically, time is simultaneous. In other words, everything happens right now. In other words, a present belief can alter the past. Okay, can you really do that? Give you an example. Again, I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I had a lady come to me one time. It's been a while back, but she came to me, and she had an issue with working jobs. She was really having a hard time. Now, she was not older, but she was a mature person. She was not a young person, not a kid anyway. And she was having a problem, said she'd had a problem with jobs all of her life. She'd get a job, she thought, okay, it's great, let's make money. But then she'd end up either quitting the job, getting fired, having problems with the people, something of that nature. And she was getting to the point where it was getting to be a real problem for her. So she came to me and said, see what you can find out. So we did a session, and I took her into hypnosis and got her into a really deep state of mind, state of being there. And so what I did was I said, okay, let's go to the most recent time that you had this problem was with a job she just left. And so that was fresh in her mind. She could bring that up and all the emotion. I said, now really tie into that emotion. Feel that emotion like it's right now, like it's real. And she did, and it was not good for her. It was a real strange emotion. And then I have her go back in time until let's go back to another time, maybe last year, 2 or 3 years ago, and she could come up with an example of that. And then I say, okay, then let's go back even farther in time. Let's go back perhaps to the very first time that you ever experienced this emotion. And she's like, says, I'm 5 years old. And I 5-year-olds don't have jobs. I'm like, come on, that's me. I'm just sitting here thinking about this while we're doing it. And so I have her explain to me what's going on. And she says her father was leaving for work and she was extremely upset. And as a 5-year-old, she thought he was deserting her. Now remember, up until about 7, we're in that theta brainwave pattern, and we can't tell the difference between real or imagined. So she was imagining that when he left, he was never coming back. So she was extremely upset. She felt completely abandoned, and they were going through this every day when he'd go to work. So he was trying to sneak out the back door and sneak around and get in the car and go, and that made it worse. Then she knew he was sneaking off and never coming back. So I had her go through that experience and feel it, get it, find out where it's at in your body and all that stuff. And you can do this yourself if you are of a mind to, and take back to that very, very first time. And then I back her up before that time and then have her walk through it as an observer, not as a participant. And so in her conscious mind, as the adult that she is, even though she's in hypnosis, and she realizes that, of course, she's coming back. Of course, I know that, but as a 5-year-old, she didn't. The really interesting thing is when she was talking to me about this as a 5-year-old child, she sounded like her voice was 5 years old. She assumed that voice. That's how realistic this stuff is in our past. Literally, I'm sitting here talking to a 5-year-old, speech patterns, voice, everything. It wasn't an adult lady that was sitting in front of me. She was a 5-year-old in this. And so we talked it through there, and there's just a technique that we do in that kind of a situation to have you take that child, love that child, bring that child forward to you, promise that child, it's called child rescue, and you bring that child forward with you into the present time, and that you'll never leave this child. It's you, so of course you're never going to leave the child, and that you love them unconditionally, and that pretty much takes care of that emotion, solves it down. So when we came out of the session, then eventually I asked her, I said, do you realize you talked like a 5-year-old? And she says, absolutely no. I said, you did. And she believed me, but she said, no way. And so then a few weeks later, she called me back and she says, Chuck, man, I got a new job. I love it. It's great. It's all working out. And she had that job, and I haven't talked to her for probably over a year now, maybe a year and a half. Last time I talked to her, she was still on that same job. She didn't have a problem with it. She got along great with the people and everything like that. So did we change the past? I don't know. Since everything happens right now, there is no past, there is no future, although we see it as a past. And scientifically, it's been kind of proven that much of our memory when we're adults, by the time we're, say, 30 years old, much of what we remember is about 50% false. It's made up. We kind of embellish our memories and stuff like that. So it may not have ever really happened the way that you think it is anyway. So once we do that and get that going on, it's actually what changed. Did we actually change the physical past? I don't know. I can't even say yes or no to that. What did change is the emotion. We get that emotion. We take care of that emotion. We relieve all of that really negative emotion. Just let that go and get it away and get it into a positive present day emotion, and it seems to clear things up for just about everybody. Sometimes you got to go back and do it again, but usually once through something like that, it's pretty well gone. It's amazing. Neville said that it's necessary to arouse your attention to such an intensity that you become completely absorbed in the revised action. In other words, the emotionally charged part of it. You have to be completely absorbed in that. And that's what we did with this lady. It was an emotional charge. The emotion is the key, because your unconscious mind basically functions in emotion and in images. So when we, like in hypnosis, we go back and do a regression, you'll see in your mind, you'll be there, you'll see it, you can feel it, you can feel the wind, you can smell the smells. It's really amazing what can happen, the things I've gone through with it. I've done past life regressions on myself, and it's absolutely amazed me, some of the things that have come out. And so it completely can make a difference in your life just by revising your past. So, and what a lot of people do, and I was talking to my wife this morning, she had a pretty rough childhood, to say the least, and she still talks a lot about it. And anytime that you're really explaining your past to people, you're talking about your past, you're recreating it. You're recreating the emotions, and you can recreate the issues that happened from that emotion right now. And you know, you can bring all of that forward. Again, life is a mirror. What we see in front of us is a mirror, a reflection of what our thinking and what our belief systems have been up to this point. So if you're working on manifestation and it's not working, like, I mean, I hear this from a lot of people, I do all the right stuff. I've even tried SAS, state akin to sleep, as Neville says, and it just doesn't work. There's something in there that's holding you back, something in your past that you have not cleared yet. And that really is what it takes. And I love these gurus that get on YouTube and they say, well, you got to take that old emotional thing and get rid of it and replace it with a new positive emotional thing. And as soon as you do that, then everything's great. And I look at them, of course, I'm looking at the video, but I say, if I could do that, I would have already done it. So how do I do that? Well, there's ways, and in future videos, I will give more technique. I just basically went through one here, how to clear your past. I've done that for myself quite a few times, just exactly what I explained that I did with this lady, but I do it for myself. Of course, I'm a trained hypnotherapist too, so it makes a little bit of difference. I got some idea what's going on in my head and what's going on in other people's heads, so I can kind of do that. But I can, and I will in the future videos, I will do some how-tos, and I'll do some other things like that, perhaps even a way to show you how to get into self-hypnosis. Is pretty simple. And self-hypnosis is pretty similar, if not exactly the same thing as meditation anyway. But if you do it, as Jose Silva said, do your meditation as a dynamic meditation. Don't try to clear your mind. Don't try to quit thinking. You can't. I don't care. I never have been able to quit. What I can do is I can take myself out of my thoughts, step aside, and be an observer of my thoughts. Sometimes makes it a little bit easier to understand things when you can do that. And that's just technique, it really is, or just willingness, or the understanding that you can do that, because anything that I can do for somebody in hypnosis, you can do for yourself. You really can. Some people need that extra help, though. They need a guide, more or less, to help them get through it, and I'm quite willing to do that. And I love doing it, actually. I really enjoy doing it with people that are having a hard time with life. Quit smoking, that's a piece of cake, but you got to be ready to quit. Things of that nature. I don't really do much of that. I will have done it. And it works. It works. You stop people from smoking, stop people from drinking alcohol, doing drugs, all that stuff like that through hypnosis. But the main thing is just manifestation. Understand, once you get it in your head, the understanding that time is not linear. It's always right now, and we're always right here. But there's a lag time. Because, again, what we see in front of us, we're not going to see that manifestation instantly appear in front of us. I suppose you could if you believed it strong enough. I don't know anybody personally that can do that. But since we see the mirror of our reflection of what we've thought up to this point, it's in the past. So if we're manifesting something, it takes a minute for that to kind of get into our vision, into our understanding. There was another guy that Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich, and I read that years and years and years ago. And in that book, he talks about it. He says being successful. He doesn't speak of it as manifestation particularly. And he said that there are 3 ingredients to being successful, in other words, for manifestation. Number 1 is you have to have a desire, and it has to be a burning desire, is the way that he put it. A burning desire. You have to have the belief, absolute belief. And what is absolute belief? It's knowing. You have to know that it's yours. And then you have to have the absolute expectancy of it being in your life. And it will come into your awareness. It will show up in your life. It's not going to be instant. There is a lag time. It's just the way the physical world works. And that's really how manifestation works. There's not a trick to it. There's not a great secret. You got to get the garbage out of the back of your head, that talk, that self-talk in the back of your head is where the big issue lies. What's going on in the back of your head? Are you aware of it? You have to make yourself aware of it. I've done that with people through hypnosis also, and get them aware of their self-talk in the back of their head that they didn't even know was there. And then once you start hearing that, once you start seeing that, you have to be able to deal with it as far as, that's not me anymore, and basically replace it with very positive beliefs, a new belief system. A belief is something that you repeat over and over and over again until it becomes ingrained. It's that simple. So if that's the case, if you've ingrained it, and a lot of it was ingrained from our childhoods, I've said before, if you've had that ingrained, or you have ingrained it into your unconscious mind, you can change it. It's just that simple. I'll get back with some more stuff here in the future. I don't want to make this terribly too long. Leave me a comment, ask questions. I've got an email that's attached to this somewhere, somewhere in here. I'm not high tech, so we're working on it. I got my professional background now, sort of. This is my dungeon where I work here. I call it my dungeon anyway. But we're getting there. And if you contact me, I'd be happy to work a schedule, maybe do a hypnosis session with you if you need the help. And a lot of people do. So there's nothing negative about that or demeaning. It's just, it works. Hypnosis is probably, and I got to do a video on just exactly how hypnosis works. It's a phenomenal thing. And it works faster and better than a lot of things. Like you go to a psychologist, and I'm not bad-mouthing them. They have a purpose, but it'll take a long time. I went to a shrink for about 2 years when I was in my early 20s. Probably the only reason I'm still here right now is because of that man and what I went through with him. But with hypnosis, good possibility we can do that in a few sessions, not a few years. So anyway, have a great time. I hope everybody is safe and happy out there. Don't believe what you see in the news. It's all just there for scare tactics. Life is great, life is good, and life goes on. Just look around at all the babies you see, people carrying around or in strollers. Life goes on, creation is happening. So thanks for stopping by. If you would give me a like, it doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps us get out, and you may help to get to somebody that really needs what I have to offer. So you could be helping somebody that just by clicking the like button. I'd appreciate it. Take care. See you in the next one.